Sentire Media.
All right, lower down the music on the potentiometer and cue up the podcast. Here we go. Today is Primo Junio, the 1st of June. Thank you for downloading and listening to us drone on into two microphones. My name's Jason.
Ciao, I'm Ashley.
Together we run, own, and operate and live at La Tavola Marche and Agriturismo in the foothills of the Apennines between Piobico and Sant'Angelo.
Yeah.
There you go. 1st of June, we have chilly 18, 19 degrees today. We have some cool, really cool cumulus clouds. Wind out of the north, 12 knots. So says the weather station. We're filling the pool. The garden is in.
We're doing a rare podcast outside without guests. We don't have to sequester ourselves into our place or just do it in the kitchen early in the morning. So we're doing a rare podcast midday outside. You might hear the birds chirping.
Yeah. It's, what has it been?
What, the weather, the what? Just everything.
Just everything.
It's been, when you stay home out here, it's pretty normal. We've been busy with all of our projects and whatnot. But we did venture out for the first time.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But the garden hasn't looked better with all this free time. All the grass is cut. All the weed whacking trimming is done. The garden's in. The drip system's set. The pool is filling as we speak. It's all ready for no one.
For us. And tomorrow is Festa della Repubblica, big holiday here in Italy, the celebration of the end of World War II and the Italians voting, and the end of fascism and starting of the Italian Republic. It's pretty interesting. It's a big festival day here tomorrow.
So we will see if I don't think there's going to be parades or anything.
No, I think they're all canceled.
They're all canceled, but they will have the Frecciarossa, Frecciarossa is the train. What's like their Blue Angels fly over?
Tricolore.
Tricolore, see, yeah.
And yeah, that's part of why the lockdown for Italy, moving around region to region, doesn't open till June 3rd, because they want to minimize some of the congregations for the festival. So trying to keep people home. So
we can move around starting Tuesday. No, what's today?
Today's Monday. So starting Wednesday, we can move throughout Italy without needing a self-declaration. And wow, this is the first time to be able to go just even over the hill into Umbria since March. So.
And we're not chomping at the bit.
No.
We actually went out for the first time to lunch the other day to Fano to try it out and to see what's what. I have not been out of Piobico, our little zone of 15 kilometers in either direction since March. So it was just weird.
I know, just to finally get to the coast. It was like, we haven't been here in so long. And this was the first time we've gone to a restaurant, and let's tell them a little of the experience. So first of all, when you go in, like I said, this is the first time, so we don't quite know the rules. And
well, not that we know the rules. The rules are you have to have a mask on at all times. But when you go to eat in a restaurant, how does this going to work? Do you have to have it your mask on until your food comes? Do you take it off when you eat?
Do you have to put it back on when she comes to bring the food? I don't know. There was nothing written up. There is the plastic barriers between the tables, but then you're eating, your mask is off, and someone walks by your table to go to the bathroom or to go to their table, and it's like, I don't know. It felt weird.
So we were going to just kind of take social cues and play it by ear. Mm-hmm. And the social cues were all over the place, meaning some people sat there with their masks on. Other people, as soon as they walked in the door of the restaurant, took it off. And there's tables of 4 guys across from each other. They're all slapping each other on the back and being, normal, no mask or anything. The servers all had their masks on. So it's very, it's very convoluted.
It's hard.
The poor restaurant, they have to make an investigation into all their clients because they're responsible for social distancing at tables. So when they walk in, they ask you, do you live together? Are you married? Are you friends? Are you family? What's going on here? And these 3 guys, when we were leaving, walked in. And
sure enough, she asks them, are you family? How are you related? And they look at each other and they go, cousins. and these 2 young girls, what are they supposed to do? Ask for, birth certificates? So I think it's the difference of being able to be seated together, or if they have to put up the plexiglass at the table. I'm not exactly sure. We chatted with the owner of the Inoteca in Urbana. I know some of you guys have been there. It's a great little family-run spot and teeny tiny. And she was saying the same thing, that if people come in together or make a reservation, like when I called to make a reservation for lunch that day, they asked, "You're two? Are you brother and sister? Are you married? Do you live together? What's your sexual history?" Like, it just was like, oh my gosh. So she was just, even at the Enoteca, so she was just saying what a mess that they have to ask each person that comes in. And I don't know how you really police that, if you will.
No, and that's why there's so much ambiguity. Like, everyone here pretty much wants to do the right thing, but there's no set. There's 45 pages of rules we got, and when you finish reading the 45 pages, you're not really too sure. For instance, if we had guests, we would have to take their temperature, make a log, take down their information, blah 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 blah,
and they have to sign a declaration that they don't have any symptoms or haven't been tested positive or been around anyone.
So then we fill out this module that you download off one of the websites from the state of Italy, and then what? What do you do with it?
We asked Gaji because he has a similar form at the ambulatory, at the kind of clinic that he works at. And he brought us a couple copies from there. And I said, okay, great. I understand. Yes, I understand the form. What do you do with it? Who do you send it to? And he goes, no one. You hold on to it. It was just like, okay.
Then what?
Then what?
For how long? For when? It's kind of all over the place. So it took the fun out of going out. And what we did notice was down where the fish restaurants are at the port, obviously. And normally for lunch, it is busy. There's a bunch of shipyards and people who different companies that work on boats, and a whole fishing industry there. And
besides the fishing, there's normally like two kind of mega yachts that are being finished up that will get set out. I don't know if that's called wet dock or not.
Dry dock.
And that
shipbuilding.
Yeah, but I just mean it's like there's a lot going on.
There was nothing going on. It was dead. There were mostly normally when we go midweek for lunch, there's a lot of working dudes, like paint and spackle and stuff all over their overalls and stuff. And this one the restaurant was a third full because that's all they could have.
If you also drove by, you would think the entire thing was shut
closed,
down.
Yeah, and there was no one working around. Normally, that down there by the port is bustling, and it was just quiet. It was like it was a Sunday or something, but it was midweek.
So we stay home. We wait for the garden to explode. And
speaking of the garden exploding, vegetables in this country have exploded in price. Since there's no one to pick the vegetables, they sit in the fields and they get a little bit too mature. And then the price of them is astronomical. So what we would normally come home, well, for us, it's astronomical. For you, you're probably like, that's not that expensive. But doubled in price easily, and the quality it's not that the quality isn't good. They're still the same vegetables. They just weren't picked at the correct time. So like the asparagus is really big and like knobby, and the salads are all kind of overgrown. Just not par. Not on par to what it should be, especially at this time of year.
Yeah,
this time of year, it should be cheap and it should be plentiful. There should be peas and asparagus and artichokes and fava beans and spinach.
And maybe even young green beans from the south, you know. You start to see all that.
Yeah, it's and they're there, but we're not used to paying €6 a kilo for over-ripened peas. Like when you open them up, they're too big and they're starting to split, and it's like, these were good 2 weeks ago. And it's not like they're not fresh. They were picked. Like they're you can tell they're still fresh because the little flowers are still on the end of the peas, but they're just too mature.
So little things, kind of day to day. That's why we stay home. I just keep saying it. Jason hates leaving now.
Yeah, I'm done doing grocery shopping or just going out in general. It's just a pain, like just to do it all. And I'm sure it is for you too. But
well, and the good news for the region of La Marche, or our zone of our province of Peso Urbino. Again, today we saw 0 people with COVID. So what are you listening for?
If the water's running. I don't hear it.
I don't hear it running either. You want to push pause real quick?
All right, false alarm. Pump is still pumping. We're sitting on the little
patio
by the pool, and now that the water level's coming up, you don't hear the splash of the water entering as much. It's much quieter. So I hear the motor of the pump going, but I do not hear the splashy splash.
So what else is going on with country living out here? Fun stuff to prepare for summer is things like getting the chimney sweeped for the fall. It's a good time to do this also before they start getting really busy and it's harder and harder and harder to get them to come out.
Plus, I have to go up on we have a problem with bees not bees, calabrone, the big ones. What you guys in the North America like to call murder hornets. What a stupid name. They are a giant European hornet. Yeah, that's what it is. And they sound like Chinook helicopters coming. They're real loud, and they're very slow, and they generally leave you alone. But they like to make their homes in the top of the chimneys because nothing's going on. It's good secluded spot. So I have to go up there and put fine mesh around the chimney to make sure they can't make the hole in there. But our roof is tall.
It's tall. It's steep. We're going to pull a Leroy, which is my grandpa, and call someone out to do some work on one thing and pull the old switcheroo. While you're here, why don't you hop up on the roof?
Yeah, if you're gonna get on the roof to clean out the chimney anyway, when you're done, can you put up this fine mesh around the thing so the bees don't enter it? That's my plan. I think it's brilliant.
God, you liked it. And he's back. He'll come by, especially now he's got the week off, but work in the garden for a couple hours in the morning and feels like he got something done. Do a little hoeing and head home before lunch.
Tomorrow we're having Gaji and Rosanna to our house for lunch for the first time. We haven't had anyone over for lunch yet, so it'll be nice to...
He was hysterical this morning, too. The cats were coming around and all giving him love sitting outside. And he turned around and another cat showed up. And this is a guy who years ago told us basically to kill the cats. Like, they're worthless. They're not, they don't hunt for real food. And he just thinks they're pretty dumb in general. But he's come to like ours. And he's sitting here. And when the second cat walks up to him, he throws his hands up in the air, looks around, and so Italian and dramatic, says, "What am I? San Francesco? Animals love me." It's like he thinks he's like some
patron saint of animals.
Yes, but he's like some animal whisperer, and it was just hysterical. So he keeps us laughing, which is nice. Let's jump into some of the questions you guys sent because it's always fun to switch it up and hear some of the burning questions on your mind versus just the random topics on ours. So, first question. Anything about living in the U.S. that you miss since moving to Italy?
Not really.
I always
High-speed internet.
Oh, okay. I always go straight to the food, and I miss Mexican, Chinese, or anything that would be delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ethnic food, but we can get it. I mean, with Amazon now, you can really order anything you want. And then when we do order stuff like that and like make it, it's always disappointing.
I miss good chips and salsa, stuff like that.
Yeah. But this year we're growing everything for the salsa. We just don't have we don't have tortilla chips.
We just don't have great tortilla chips. So,
all in all, though,
no, all in all, and especially once things like a couple years ago when things like the NFL package came to Italy or the NHL package and things like that where you could, or come to Europe, then you can start watching other things that you kind of missed from before. But
all in all, we get Netflix, we get all that crap. And after what we watch on the news this last weekend, no, I don't miss anything from the States.
No, and that's all like the food commercial stuff. Of course, I've come from a big family and there's lots of little ones and things. You miss some of the birthday parties or funerals, unfortunately, and things like that you can't always get back to. But it's part of the good and the bad of making the life choices.
Yeah, family. That's right. Family.
Here's the next question. Why do Tuscans not put salt in their bread?
Well, not only do Tuscans not put salt in their bread, but I think a vast majority of central Italy doesn't. And it all goes back to taxes. In 1400 and the Vatican taxed salt. And salt was like gold because it was traded as like a currency. And because the people of central Italy were poor, they had to decide: are we going to make sausages and salamis and prosciuttos and that kind of stuff, and use the salt in our charcuterie and our meat, or are we going to put it in our bread every day? So their idea was, we'll make all this other stuff salty and put it on the saltless, tasteless, horrible bread. So it was a tax, and they didn't want to pay the tax. To this day, I buy bags of salt that are called the Pope's salt, and he still owns the salt mines, several salt mines all over Italy, thinking one day, hey, you never know, with the way things are going, we might be going back 1,000 years.
But it is interesting, and after all this time, they stick with tradition. In central Italy, it is very difficult to find bread with salt in it. And just as Jason said, it's become that ingrained mentality of there's not salt in the bread. You put the salt on the bread with what you are, like he said, the prosciutto or the salami. And it starts to make sense. I fought it long and hard, or I just couldn't quite grasp it. But after 13 years, you start to get it. Oh, we've got a chicken alarm going off as well.
Are we going to have to stop it?
Let me run real quick.
Go. All right. So this is why we don't do podcasts midday, huh?
This is exactly why. It was a false alarm, chicken alarm, false alarm, pool, false alarm, but lots of alarms in the middle of the day.
I have no idea where we were.
I'm asking questions.
Oh, the salt and bread. So when you go up to Milan or into the north, they were richer. Woo, they're rich. They can afford to put salt in everything. They're throwing salt around like it's nothing.
It's raining salt up there. A great way to enjoy the saltless, tasteless bread of our area is called pane brustolito, and it really works with this kind of bread perfectly. And
you might call it a bruschetta.
Bruschetta. Sorry, I didn't even say it wrong. Brustolito would be you take the bread, cut it, put it on the barbecue, give it a nice little grill, and then rub raw garlic on it, salt, and olive oil.
It's the most typical. It's like the typical type of bruschetta. Everyone thinks of that tomato bruschetta as bruschetta, but bruschetta just is toasty bread rubbed with garlic and olive oil, and then you do something. So,
speaking of the bread and the salt and the table in that sense, also, a lot of times people will come out here to Le Marche after being in Florence and different parts of Tuscany, and they'll ask, why is there no olive oil on the table to dip their bread? And it's just not done here. Our area in particular isn't incredibly olive oil rich, and that's just...
I've never been anywhere in Italy except in touristic restaurants where they put olive oil to dip on the table.
Mm-hmm. Maybe parts in the South or something.
I don't know.
I assume it's got to be going on somewhere where there's a lot of oil.
They would always take sliced bread, lay it down, sprinkle salt and pepper, and then drizzle olive oil, but no one puts out a dish of olive oil.
I haven't seen it either. That's why you won't see it on our tables. So, Jason, next question. How do you preserve your tomatoes?
I preserve my tomatoes in jars, mostly. I don't really care for sun-dried tomatoes at all. And I also take the little small ones, whether they're Datterini or Ciliegini or any of the small tomatoes, and if we get a rain or something.
When he's saying small, obviously he's talking like cherry tomatoes and smaller.
Yeah, the small ones. And if we get a rain and they might split, that's a great time to pick them all and then throw them in the freezer and use them over the winter. So if I need a dish that needs like 4 or 5 tomatoes in it, or a little handful of chopped tomato, I'll use that instead of busting open a jar. And we don't make passata. We don't pass it. We do pieces of tomato, because if you make passata, now all I can make is sugo or sauce. Whereas if you have pieces, you can make stews and sauces and different. It just gives you more flexibility in it. But those are the two ways. In other parts of Italy, they'll make concentrato, like concentrate. They'll dry them. They'll make almost like a salsa pomodoro in the South, where they boil it. Like they actually boil the tomato passata and then put it in the jars. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. But primarily, I freeze the little ones and can the bigger one, or jar the bigger one.
And the jarring, we do the water bath style.
Yeah, it's the traditional water bath. You can look it up. There's many different ways to do it, but
we have a lot that we do. This year, we're going to have a whole lot more. Next question. What are effective ways to learn Italian? And second follow-up question to that is probably your favorite language question. How long did it take?
It takes as long as it takes. We are not.
Ways to learn language.
We are not the people to ask.
No, we have tried basically every way. We have done everything from when we still lived in New York and before we moved. We purchased Rosetta Stone that I don't know if we even ever used one lesson.
No,
and of course,
work.
it was like a money back guarantee, but we never did that. We took lessons in New York at a school run by two Sicilian sisters, and they were running a school for children. And we thought this would be a great place to learn. Go to the basics. And there was two other adults in the class in the evenings, and that was a nice start. When we came to Italy, we started taking Italian lessons from a retired French teacher in town who didn't speak any English, and that was very difficult.
Basically, you have to find what works for you. I guess now we found that having like an over the internet program where we can do it whenever we want to do it works for us with something more structured. Other people are better having more of a loose program or just kind of self-studying or no, I need structure.
Well, and some people like to be in a group setting, like you're saying. We've tried, like I said, those. We've done the kind of one-on-one private tutor online. We've done just YouTube videos. And now, we have found one that's more of a online course. Why the one we're using now, we really enjoy, we'd have to look up his name, Manu. That he is a linguistics guy, a professor
of linguistics.
But he is not only a native Italian speaker.
He has a parent that's Italian, a parent that's Australian, so he can come at it from a different perspective of having a native speaker of both languages and know where the places that an English speaker has trouble with pronunciation and grammar in Italian and help work. I like him a lot. I also like that we can do it whenever we want. Like we just had trouble getting to a class because
our schedule's crazy. Our
schedule's all over the place. So it's much better that one day we can do it in the morning and one day we can do it in the afternoon after lunch, and it's just much better. But the best way, honestly, to learn Italian or learn anything is put in the work. There's no substitute for putting in the work. Everyone wants a hack. Everyone wants to know the secret. Guess what? There's no secret in life. If you put in the work to anything, you get results.
It's back to old flashcards.
Whatever it is, put in the work, and you will. If you put in 2 hours a week, you will get 2 hours a week of knowledge out of it. If you spend all your time studying Italian, you will be shocked at how quick you pick it up. There's no secret to life. Put in the work. No one wants to hear that. It's like that is such a foreign thing. Like, put
even
in the
us.
work.
I mean, come on, it sucks. We still struggle at times. We are still constantly learning.
It's
so how long did it take? It ain't over.
Forever. It takes forever.
But at the same time, I want to tell people it's never too late to start. We have our Dutch neighbors down the road who obviously speak English and Dutch and German and French, but in their late 60s, they moved to Italy and learned Italian. And so it's not like you can't use the excuse, I'm too old to learn something new. All right. Back to the recipe questions. Jason, what is your pizza sauce recipe? She followed up with, I love the simple, clean taste in Italy versus America's overspiced versions.
Pizza sauce, all I do is take my jarred tomatoes and I pass them to make passata. I usually let a little bit of the water drain out so it's not so soupy, so it's a little bit denser. And then all I do is salt, some chilies or pepper, whatever you like. A little bit of olive oil, a tiny, do not overdo this.
You guys should see his face right now. It's in pain.
So, for instance, a tiny bit of garlic, meaning when I do enough sauce for 20 pizzas, I put 1 clove of garlic in.
And shave it.
Shave it. I shave it. I micrograte it. So I don't want chunks of garlic. Let me repeat that. For a whole bowl, I put 1 clove.
For 22 pizzas.
Yeah, so if I'm doing it for me and Ashley, I literally take the garlic clove, give it 2 shaves, 3 shaves on a microplane, and that is it. If you go to taste it and it tastes like garlic, you've gone too much. And then from there, whatever you want, whatever herbs, but go light on them. It shouldn't taste like, if you want to put oregano, it shouldn't just taste like you're just sucking on a whole bunch of oregano. So I would say for 4 people, I would say a sprig of oregano. You chop it up and throw it in there. Remember, you don't want to overpower, and aromatics are very overpowering. When you add the salt, do it before you add the oil. If you add the oil first, the oil sits on top of the tomatoes, and then the salt passes through it, and now the salt is coated with oil and doesn't really melt that easily. So when you taste it, it might taste salty or gritty because the salt didn't have a chance to come down. And pizza sauce is an uncooked sauce. You do not cook it on the stove. You cook it in the oven when the pizza's cooked.
Otherwise, it becomes like a pasta sauce.
Otherwise, it's pasta sauce, but very, very simple. Not a whole bunch of stuff. No powders of anything. Garlic, onion powder. No dried herbs. Please don't put dried herbs in there.
No, don't.
Just leave it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, just leave it out.
Next question. This one is for me. Nocino. This is a walnut liquor. Do you leave your nuts whole or do you split them? Well, I know, and I've seen this all over the place. It is probably the most hotly contested part of the recipe, depending on where you're from in Italy. Luckily, the woman who taught me and shared her nocino recipe with me is from Piobico here, and she does not cut her nuts. So I leave them whole. That's what the recipe calls for. And I thought, since this is the time of year to be making nocino, I would share the recipe with everyone just in case. Nocino is a walnut liquor that is typically made at the end of May, beginning of June. There's a specific Saint's Day, of course, that corresponds to it, but you got to go by the nuts more than the Saint's Day. So for this recipe, it is 25 green walnuts, 1 kilo or a little bit less of sugar, 1 liter of alcohol, 250 grams of water, a stick of vanilla and a stick of cinnamon, 5 to 7 cloves. Mix it all together. Put it in a big jar, a clear jar, and then what she taught me was to put that jar outside and put it in a warm, sunny spot, like up against the side of the house. And every morning when you go to water and every evening before you go to bed, take that jar and give it a nice shimmy shake. You want to just incorporate all that. I've done it accidentally years where I've around the side of the house, we got busy and totally forgot a few days, and that sugar,
it'll caramelize.
It just kind of caramelizes and becomes cement at the bottom, and it does not dissolve anymore. So, but if you do it right, you just keep shaking it, and after, let's see here, 40 days in the sun. That's why this one is called biblical. You take it out of the sun, then you leave it inside for 1 month in a cool, dark place. After that month, so now it's been 40 days in the sun plus another month in the corner. Now you filter out the nuts and you can bottle it. You can make a nocinato di marsala if you want with the used nuts, with adding the used nuts, 1 liter of dry marsala, 200 grams of sugar. Mix that together and leave it for 15 days. I've never actually done the marsala one.
We don't use a lot of marsala.
We don't.
Not in this. I've never tasted marsala in this area.
No, but this is the Nocino di Maria Mochi. It's absolutely lovely. You would make it right now.
And then there's another Saint's Day to drink it, right?
No, I was just going to finish it up. You could call it the greatest saint of all. First pour should be Christmas Eve.
Oh, there you go. That's what it was. Okay. It's ready Christmas Eve. Okay.
So you would pour this for Christmas. And the thing is it's got such an incredible spicy flavor with the clove and the cinnamon and the nutmeg.
Yeah, it's not really a summer one.
No, it's not really. It's perfect for the fall. I don't really serve it at all during the summer. It just doesn't go. But all fall and into the winter, it's so nice, especially with a little biscotti. You could even kind of drizzle a little bit over some vanilla gelato if you wanted. But it's a really nice, lovely, it's not too strong and boozy of a flavor, and very
not
typical.
With a kilo of sugar.
No, not at all. So those are the questions you guys sent us for this podcast. If you have any more for the next, shoot us an email at info@latavolamarche or find us on Facebook or Instagram and send them there. Thanks. It's kind of fun to find out what's on your guys' mind.
All right. Very good.
What else is going on? Well, the only other thing for us going on is, thankfully, one thing we've been busy with is the virtual Move to Italy workshops. And we extended the enrollment to go through June for another round of workshops. So if you're interested, visit the website, letavolamarche.com. And we have 2 different Move to Italy packages. One is just a one-off 90-minute call for just basically any of your questions, general overview, and how to get started, kind of how to start a timeline. And we give you a 30-point kind of checklist and then a 90-day out checklist before your move. And use that time to ask any questions. Maybe you are much further in the process and you're more interested in just the house hunting aspect.
It's your time.
It's your time. Any way you want it, baby. And then the other one is 4 calls, 7 hours. And we go through the whole preparation, transition, assimilation, or execution of your business.
And in fact, our last 2 clients we had were not for business at all. They were just moving out here.
Exactly.
Which is the best.
I know. You guys are the luckiest.
You can retire. It's the best.
I know. Get a holiday home or a little apartment in the center of Rome or whatever it may be. And so it's kind of fun doing a mix of people who are at a different stage in their life and looking to enjoy just the benefits of living in Italy and the relaxation and the beauty versus the hustle and we are also getting ready to roll out our virtual cooking classes, which will be available for private groups or corporate events. And the information for that is going to be up on the website as well. And if you have any questions, you can shoot me an email for a private quote.
But didn't I say 2 podcasts ago I didn't want to do any cooking classes?
You did. Jason was like, you guys, everyone's already doing these things. Well, then you start getting some requests for some big groups.
You get a couple of corporate clients corporations who want to do it, and you're like, oh, okay.
Okay. And the longer it goes without having people here, and the more the garden and the projects are starting to get underway, and you have a little more time, it is kind of nice to interact. Jason keeps thinking I'm going to have a meltdown within the next month or so of just lack of interaction with others. And he's probably right. I've been agreeing to do so many virtual interviews, virtual trips to Italy. And
yeah, it's like, who are you talking to? Why? Who are you talking to
I know.
now?
Jason's in the background going, what is this? Wrap it up. And I'm like, I chat long and extra. And I'm like, hey, so what else is going on? It's nice to interact sometimes with others. But yeah, that's about it out here.
All right. Anything else, or are we wrapping it up?
No, I'm hungry.
Okay, very good. Wrap it up.
All right. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. You know where to find us, LATAVOLAMARCHE. Visit the website, letavolamarche.com. Shoot us an email about your questions, your requests for the workshops, anything like that, at info@letavolamarche. TripAdvisor. Oh, my God. Don't go to TripAdvisor. I don't know why that ever came into my head. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the usuals, at @letavolamarche, or you can follow me at Ashley Bartner. All right. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day. Ciao, ciao.
Sentire Media.
Hey, podcast producers and show hosts. Do you want to join a podcast network that celebrates all things Italian? At Sentire Media, we understand the allure of Italy and its unique culture. Our devoted team of hosts and producers are all driven by their shared passion for Italy. And we work tirelessly to create the best lifestyle podcasts and content that will whisk you away to the very heart of Italy. With us, you can savor the mouth-watering flavors, get lost in the stories from the past, break down the cultural barriers, and truly immerse yourself in the vibrant traditions of this intoxicating country. If you have a great podcast idea or are already in production and would like to join Sentire Media, head over to sentiremedia.com. That's SENTIRE media.com and find out how to submit your show.